Hit. Yeah. Welcome back, Puddins.fab.shop fans from across the world. Yeah. You know what that means? That means we're international. And this week we are back on our Loadstar, also an international. We have been building a very light duty truck here. And so far we have swapped this old body to a GM 1-ton chassis. We put a Cummins, a 6-speed. We have been building a tilt flatbed with all kinds of little trick features on it. And last week we built some extended control arms. That way we could push that big 24-inch semi wheel out where it's not tucked up underneath there. Too many Loadstars out there got those wheels tucked way up in there 6 to 8 inches. Puddin' Pops just texted me and said, yeah, that looks like someone's wearing their big brother's shirt. That's a good one, Dad. So last week we got those pushed out, and then we ran into a torsion bar problem. So then I used my poor guy's airbag system, aka a floor jack, and we just lowered the sucker all the way down. And I told y'all we were considering air ride. In fact, I just made a full second channel video kind of tearing into the back to see what it would take. Now y'all may notice, if you haven't seen that I pulled our shackle bolts and I pulled our helper bags off where that back could kind of sit down, where we could get an idea of what she would look like with air ride. And I'm still considering it. I'll just say that. I still haven't fully locked in. But none of that matters, because this week we're going to try to get this big old flatbed to actually tilt, or at least get the tilting mechanism in there. We need to set a cradle so this actually has something to sit on, besides that piece of flat strap right there that's just begging for help. So cover your eyes, kiddos, because we're about to strip Wilma down. Hey, Ma, Wilma's taking her gown off. Yep. All right, with our wood off of there, our big old hinges back here, they're at the very back, so obviously that's our pivot point. Just so y'all know, see how good those move? I jacked this up off of the hitch, and yeah, check that out. So to kind of hold this in place, I had just thrown this across there, but we need to get something to hold it. Something to help keep it aligned and something to help put that weight on. And eventually we'll even need a latching system. I don't think we're going to get to that today. But a big challenge is going to be figuring out where we can put this scissor hoist lift thingy-mabobber in there. All right, this should be a lot of fun. It looks super light. Go get those birds, for crying out loud, Theodore. Boy, they got to going a minute ago. Just squawking drives me insane. It's like having two bickering kids going on for 30 minutes. Just go find a new tree. Away from my place, preferably. Shut up. Yeah. Yeah, fly away. Woo! Yeah, go on. Go on. Won't get through, that's all she takes. Oh, and a dirt dauber, huh? You wanna try me? You wanna try me right now? Yeah, I don't think you did, Theo. Give me that duck. Give me that duck. Now, I've currently lost our digital angle finder, so we're having to use our old Johnson. So we'll put our Johnson here on top of the roof line. 1 degree. Off the rocker, we're getting a 1/2 degree. Off the door, we're getting 1. Off the running board, we're getting 1. So that gives us a pretty good idea of where we're at. Now off of our bed, we're getting like 1.5. So I know it's running down at an angle more. We want to get that picked up where we're happy with it, because that's going to allow us actually a little bit more room underneath that to fit Big Bertha in there. You know, that tilt bed we're probably never going to use but once a year, but I had to have. I've got our nice system stowed away. Nice little hoist system secured to our rafter up there. That scared some folks. Don't worry, picking up on this ain't gonna bring the shop down, guys. See that? Guys, it's really not that heavy. We pivot at the back, so it's not like you're just picking up all this weight. If I had another strong individual, one could go in that corner, that one, we could pick this sucker up. So y'all thinking we're hoisting like 10,000 pounds, and we're picking up a couple hundred with this hoist probably. Because I promise y'all, I ain't that strong. We've never seen it before. He's doing the triple jack. It's a new move. Woo! 2.5 ton heavy duty. We'll see about that. Oopsie daisy. You think you'd learn on the first side. You're curious what the heck I'm doing. I'm trying to get our truck in line with our hoist where we're not binding the bed trying to hoist it up. And our issue is, with no spring in the front, the front end is not mounted, the body. So as all the weight goes down on this, those tires are hitting our fender, and it's trying to pick up, it's not trying, it is picking up this whole body. So I'm trying to figure out how I can support everything and move it at once. Jacked her up a little more off the frame. Right there's where our bump stop's supposed to go. Oh yeah. Now we watch the weight of that Cummins shear this wood. She's down. That wood don't sound happy. Damn overachiever. Once she started going, she was going. With that lined up a little better, throw our hoist on. Picked up on hoist till we get her matching. We'll get it where we're pretty happy, matching what we got going here. And all of that is just so we can get a reference measurement. From right here to the ground, we'll go to the bottom of that, and I see 28 5/8. And then we'll come back in here, and we'll just say right at 30 inches. Up here, about 30 1/4-ish. And that's so now we can start to try to figure out how to fit that mechanism in here. And from the ground, we know a limit on how tall we can go. Life's all about limitations and what you allow to hold you back. Now that we know our measurement, we can get this out the way. Now we definitely want some safety stands in here. And I actually changed some stuff, guys. I picked the front up to about right height, where it would be with the torsion bars, or right height with air right. And I noticed as I was going to pick that up, our leaf springs in the back being unattached was letting this thing go all over the place, and I didn't like that. So I put our bolts back in back there, got this at right height, rechecked our measurements, and now we continue. And let's make sure to get her level front to back. Now we just got to quite simply throw this in there and we'll be good to go. The one time I was going to read instructions, y'all think maybe my package had got rained on? This thing's soaking wet. And I'd like to see this first page, but I can't get these two separated. Oh, come on. No whammy, no whammy. Don't sneeze, we'll blow this paper in half. We didn't even need to see that page. Blah, 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 blah. It looks like they put the one pivot point towards the front of the frame. So where it scissors will be towards the rear. That's good. We need that room. Welder bolt supports, cross members, welder bolt plate to tilt frame. We got this. We got this. Here's the hinges that come with this. Yeah. Woo, that's nice. I mean, good enough for old dump trailer. Y'all still worried about these monsters that I built? This kit's rated to like 14 ton or something. Here's our other pieces. These are gonna slide in here, and that's what we're more interested in. Too bad. We want to lighten it up as much as we can. All right, this needs to basically float straight up and flip around with the pivot points up in here. This will be on the bottom. That way the ram's angled up to start pushing up. This will be on the top. Sounds really easy when we say it like that. That wasn't bad. Good thing we picked that ride up, huh? Slides right underneath. Yes! We need something right at 44 inches long. Yep. Yeah. We are doing the just jump right in and spitball technique. From the back of the cab, we got a 2-inch gap, so I prefer not to shove all that up in here if we don't have to. See, this pivot point's further forward, so we're aiming for a mock-up of a lower one. So from that, we need to go back, we'll say 1.25 inches. Then we'll measure that off the bottom of the cab, not off this part, off the bottom. And that's 1 inch, we'll say 1.125 inches, 4 1/8. And that should be to the center of that. So now we're gonna put our temporary cross member centered up to that mark. Get us a mark on this side where we can hit both. That's centered up and squared up. I want to clamp it in place. Yeah, I believe these go in our bottom ones. So next we'll put those into those positions and try to get that set up on here. Yeah. Plan's working, except we gotta drag that jack. We want to be careful because we don't want to lose a finger. And dropping something heavy like this is a really good way to ruin a day. All right, let's get our hinges in. All right, set that down on there. It's gonna be easier to manhandle that and line it up without the jack being in there. All right, we want to center her up inside of the frame to the hinge. 1 foot and 1/16, 11 5/8, 11 13/16, 11 7/8, 11 7/8. All right, we're pretty stinking good right there. And I am gonna slide those out just a hair so it ain't rubbing, but for mock-up we're good. Now, I just kind of realized I had a dummy moment and I'm trying to mock this up here. But we obviously aren't going to be near tall enough because our drive shaft's going through right here where this is at, so that ain't going to work obviously. But what we're doing still fine. We just got to basically come straight up with it. It almost would have just been easier to start off by setting it across the top of this sucker. That gets that all the way up. That's the cross member I think we're going to at least have to cut the top off of, but it may be easier just to take the whole thing out. Boy, I thought I was rocking and rolling there. So the thing for mocking up now is if we want to put that across up there, then that has to be over that, and that's not as simple as just picking it up the way I have been. From that cross member to that is right at 7 inches. After I set this to ride height and measured up to the bottom of the front rail, that was 30 1/4. That's 21 inches, so add the 7, we get 28 inches. So what that tells me is we should be able to set something 2-inch thick across the top of the frame rail and then sit that on top of there. And that should clear for the front. And assuming we can get this picked up and hanging over the top of this, that'll let us check clearance for everything else, which is definitely gonna be bad. Replicated what we did before. Now with 2x4 turned on its side. And my plan is to pick that up, then we'll shove it on here. Hey, right there. Well, wouldn't that be something if the way that curves up and the way that's open, if that just sat perfect like that and would somehow clear? I ain't damn lucky enough. I'll see, we may need to come back a little more. Not that that really matters up in there, as long as it clears. Oh, and actually the peak of that does look like it ain't gonna hit where that is. And to the bottom of that, we needed 33, I think is what I'd measured. And right there, we're about 33 3/4. However, when we drop that, if that don't come down right where that's at, if it's where the wood is, we get an additional 2.5 inches of clearance. And we should be good up into here. So I squared it up in there. Here's the thing, that rear end is offset. So I notice this cross member, the hoop is offset. So it actually is not centered right now. It's favoring our passenger side a little more. Obviously, we'd like to have it centered. Being an inch further this way, I don't know how much that really matters. All I do know is I wish I would have bought an electric hoist. All right, she's as low as she can go. We're sitting on this front piece now, and we're actually running downhill at 1 degree, and that's 0 degrees. We pick up on that until we actually hit right at 0 again, and that actually gives us some clearance up there. Yeah, I mean, seeing some of that up in there don't even look bad. I just didn't want it rubbing the cab. I think that'd be all right by me, because we have stuff back here that if we start taking it any further back, we may start rubbing. Now, we still got to consider for a gas tank even. However, right there, it does appear it could fit. Fitting a little better than I predicted even. The way that slants and clears for our hitch, and then once this peaks, it drops to clear that. It's almost like we planned for it. But we did not. It's better to be lucky than good sometimes, my friends. Now, since we've got adequate clearance underneath the front, why don't we see if we can slide this thing and get it centered up. As it slides on that, it is going to pick it up technically. We're going to use a little help from our friend ratchet strap. 14 1/4. About 13 1/2. So we're looking for about 13 7/8 on both sides. Right there. Ooh, we went a hair too far. We're pretty close though. Butter up and then just back her off a hair where it's got a little bit of play. We'll clamp that down. We'll go clamp the other side. She'll be centered. We need something just a little bigger. What I want to do next is slightly pick up on this and try to get the weight off of that where we create clearance there, 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 and there. Let's get us a baby 6x6. Just a little small thing. All right. I do believe we're off of that. Now we are starting to just want to rub right there. There is a gap, but I don't even know what the heck that is. We'll figure that out. Chain rubbing. Obviously, when this thing's full together, there ain't gonna be a chain in there, so that don't really matter. So in theory, if we built those to be able to attach to the front there, and then we built the pedestal that this sits down on that holds the weight when it comes down, all the weight gets rested on a pedestal, and it was exactly right in there, none of that stuff would be rubbing. Woo! For just firing from the hip, I'm liking it. I stood back here and the bed looked a little high, so I dropped the front of it a hair more. And to do that, I did have to pull our chain over to clear. Everything is still clearing. We're sitting level side to side. We're at the angle I want. So now we got to figure out how to attach these from its pivot point to that. It'd actually be better if we had angle iron pivots like the other one. So let's go from the bottom of the 2x6, and we're gonna look to roughly right in the middle, and I'm gonna say 2 7/8. No, 1 7/8. Maybe 1 13/16. Now this is offset. So here on that smaller side, that way we got 1 7/8 to the center. All right, guys, it's real easy. We got a 10-inch long piece, so I'll mark the center 5 inches. We're gonna go that way, and we're gonna cut it off at 1.5 inches, just because that's gonna be our bottom piece. We don't need nothing down there. That allows room for our weld to stay in there where that rod is pushed through this plate. And as far as going that way, I told y'all we need 1 7/8 inches, but I've got some 3/8 thick angle iron we're gonna place on here to weld this to. So we wanna take off additional 3/8. So we wanna go this way 1.5 inches as well. Woo! Everything I do makes sense as long as you never think about it. The scrap pile continues. And we already messed up because I was picturing being able to lay the angle iron that away, but it needs to go that away. But that's okay. We're still working here. Now we're 3 inches wide and 3.5 long. So we're going to cut some 3/8 plate, 3.5 long. 3 1/2. Lube her up, slice her down. Get her sat in place and lined up. Tack it. I'll set that where we got a place for the weld to go. We'll check her for 90, make sure she's good. And we don't want to do that because that is offset. So we actually want to move that over there, turn that, and then flip that. And then we'll end up in a way where they're both offset. Symmetrical pieces. No, asymmetrical. They're bilingual. They're bi what? And that'll give us 1 7/8 inches to the center. Woo-hoo! That's money. Now if we weld that, guaranteed we're gonna move it. We could clamp her up to the table and stuff, but I cut us another piece, and that's because we're gonna slice this thing at a diagonal. And we're gonna cut us out a couple gussets. I'm just gonna mark that. Our length is good over here. We'll connect that to that corner. Whew. We'll flip that on there, trace it, and cut another. Weld prep. Going live. You want to use your square as a hammer. That keeps her nice and at a perfect 90-degree angle. With some big and beefy tacks on that, we can try her out. That's right, we're not gonna full weld, just in case we want to change. This is offset, and when I test fit, offsetting it towards the rear, which we need it to, was kind of flush with our 2x6, so this is gonna hang over past the front of our 2x6. But as long as nothing rubs, I really don't care. However, what I do care about is whatever the heck that is being stuck to our polished shaft. I'm gonna keep a nice clean shaft so there's no friction whenever we enter this into where it goes. If you got a dirty rough shaft like what we got right here, it's not gonna go in there very well. I was hoping this would take it off, but that ain't doing it. Well, I bet if we grab a different can of the same stuff, that ain't gonna help. Ooh, watch out, that's looking a little dry. We don't want it to dry out now. There we go. Well, I don't know what that is, but the fact it's half stained into this stainless, or whatever this is kind of concerning. All right, guys, I'm gonna polish our shaft till she's ready to go. Scotch-Brite did the trick. Luckily for us, it's the pair of them, not just one. Golly. I'll tell y'all what, little Hung Lee, the 8-year-old who welded that for me, is gonna have to step it up, or they're gonna cut him from the factory over there. Beautiful fit. Yeah! All right, nothing's overly precise right now, but we are C-clamped in place. We should be able to take the hoist up now, and with the bottom clamped, the top clamped, we should be able to kind of cycle this thing and see how it acts. We definitely want to do testing before we just start trying to permanently lock stuff in. Y'all see that sucker stroking or what? As we've picked up, I seen our weight come off of this a little bit ago. This starts going forward some, so we're clearing there. Now I told y'all we'd be sticking forward some out there. As you can see, we are, but we are clearing the cab. Again, that don't bother me because we could box all that onto this for additional strength. With her in the air a little bit, I can actually see to try to find some plugs. We want to pull these because if they're sealed up with the O-ring like that one is, we're going to be compressing air in there, and that's going to be fighting us. And you get a little bit of fluid in there. right there is more than I plan on going, or about where I plan on going. I've always kind of been aiming for the bottom of that towards the top of the cab, and that's where we're at right now, guys. Look at that. I noticed some of y'all that's gonna look wild because you're actually used to seeing them out in the middle of the trailer or pickup or whatever. And for us, unfortunately, if we want to keep that factory fuel tank and stuff like that, that's just not going to be an option. Now, that being said, we've got 2x6, 2x4, all the cross runners. And if we put a vehicle on here, obviously it can't be something huge. I think some of y'all think I'm planning on like hauling my van. But like if my Model A was on there, or even the C900 pickup, that thing can't wait but, you know, 3,000 and some change. I think it's going to be just fine, guys. I will say that's uglier than sin when that's up. Golly, that thing ain't pretty. And that thing still has more stroke, and we got more clearance. This thing could keep going. We're getting close to the end. I know that because we start losing fluid, so that means that piston's up there. I think about right in there's as far as I want to take it. So there you go, folks. How's that for a dumper? Oh, that hits you, Bill. It's going to hit the ground when you tilt your bed now, dummy. You're so dumb, you don't even dummy. That's all I've been told my whole life, I'm a dummy. Yeah, I'm the one with the mobile Evel Knievel bicycle ramp, and my hit still ain't touching the ground, huh? Y'all better be happy I couldn't mount that thing back in there for additional leverage. I'd be able to turn this sucker a full 90. Make a damn wall if we needed to. Well, that's wild, guys. It is in place. It's clamped in place. Really happy with our little test cycle. And it should be able to collapse right back down. And it somehow magically sets a hair above that. It's like the fabrication gods just wanted it to happen for me or something. Yeah. We gotta call that a successful test. We ain't got an option. We passed that sucker with flying colors. Hell, before we call that a huge success. Well, we do gotta have a drive shaft. And we can build a two-piece that comes here to carrier bearing, and obviously that'll hang down some. I do think we need just a little bit more clearance if possible. So we may try taking that 2x4 cross member up just a 1/2 inch on each side, because there was still some drop. It come down a little past where I wanted it to, so we may be able to just lift everything a 1/2 inch. I don't know. Honestly, we should have bolted or clamped the 2x4 in and checked that and then went from there. That's all right. We ain't known for doing stuff in the correct order. We're known for not letting it whoop us and figuring out a solution. 1/2 inch coming right up. Get this side matching, and I know what you're thinking. A 1/2 inch, how much can that help? When you're that close to the drive shaft, a lot. Oh yeah, looky there. That 1/2 inch made all the difference. Right as that goes flush and hits that cross member, it's actually hitting flush back here. Obviously a carrier bearing is gonna allow some drop, so we'll definitely clear up there. And that angle finder has great news. Running 1 degree, just like that is. That's how I had it before. So that sucker sat down all the way. Now we don't have clearance no more. That is starting to hit that cross member, but at the same time that lift itself is hitting itself at the very front. So it's all just compressed as far as it can go. And it's gonna be fine, guys, because we're gonna create saddles that sits on there nice and level, and there's gonna be a latch system that locks that bed down. So it ain't like it's gonna ride on there and slap it or something. We've just got too stinking lucky that this is gonna work just like we need it to work. Now, we're not totally in the clear. Very last thing to check is our fuel tank. If y'all recall in the one episode, I predicted that this corner being notched the way it is would clear just enough where we could get a factory tank in there as long as we move those lines out the way. Well, as you can see, that's proving to be true. Now, it does look like that would maybe suck up a little more, but everything's close enough that we could put some type of material between there if we needed to isolate that where it don't clamp up any further. It clears. In fact, this is a plastic tank
Maybe we could heat up the corner and beat it in a little more with a hammer and modify the shape of it a little bit. Who knows? I will say I know it's close enough to fitting that we're gonna be able to make something work. It's nothing worth stressing over. She's gonna fit. I don't know how, guys, but all of it is gonna fit. Good morning. I ran all over the countryside yesterday chasing volleyball games. Today we're going to try to get that stuff a little more permanent in place. Cross member cut, 1/2 inch risers cut. We'll tack them and checker. Left us a little bit there where we got a place for a weld to go. She looks good. Weld it. So over crappy products. Can't even spend decent money and get good stuff anymore. Rarely even pop that to that. Woo! Welded to our tip. Crappy tip. Should be going through dang 5 tips a week because everything's made so crappy. Crying out loud. You know the main reason I'm upset? I just remembered this morning that I used our last new one last week, so once this one burns up completely, we're gonna have to do a trip to town to get more crappy ones because nowhere around here sells good ones that I'm aware of. Weld those babies on. Boop! Cleaned her up for some welding, measured back our 1.125". Got everything centered up. Here's the deal though. Did y'all really think we were just gonna set 2x4 across there like that strong enough? Oh no, she needs brace, folks. So I want to measure across the bottom there, right at 19 inches. So we're going to do some type of support that comes out of that frame rail out to this, up at an angle to help spread that load to the chassis. Also, let me mention that once we strip this thing down 100% before we have it blasted and painted, I do believe I'm going to box this whole chassis with 1/8 inch plate. They boxed it back in there, but I believe I'm going to box the rest. So we'll drop cross members and stuff, and then eventually it'll all get boxed even more. Just in case we need to haul 15 ton on the back of this thing, baby. Obviously a lot easier to weld prep that before it's tacked into place. Our pivot's right at 20 inches. I'd mark center right there. Come over 10 inches, half of 20. And I put us a couple of marks down in here to kind of aim for, because that's actually where our hinge piece should kind of end up some more out here. That way we're getting the support right up underneath the hinge. Next, you take a straight edge, boop, off the bottom. We go to that inside mark we're after. Now we just got to take our angle finder and kind of figure exactly what that is. Right there's pretty stinking good. 137. Nice, simple, easy to factor number. Except we're actually gonna kind of be on top up in here. And if that's the case, it needs to go that way more. Yeah, we're gonna round her up to $1.40. Moving that up's gonna put her right out there where we want it. Math with a little guesstimation. You gotta be, oh my goodness. It's been in the drawer the whole time. I've looked in that drawer 1,000 times for this thing. Got my eye on you. We know we're after 140, frame width about 2 1/4. Let's see what we can figure out here. Put our angle finder on here to guide us, and I'm gonna slide that sucker down until that pushes us right at the 2 1/4 to that edge over there, about right in there. And we'll flip her to this side, and we'll run it down right till we get our mark there. Hold on. Oh, I've confused myself. I'm backwards. I mean, did a pretty good job of getting close to our 2 1/4, but that ain't what we need. We need it over here, cutting off this edge, I mean. So go along our straight line there, and then we'll go from that edge over the 2 1/4. Mark that side, then bring it down and connect that. Now we cut all this off, and that should sit down in our frame. I was a smarts man, I figures it out. Yes, I know I got a saw right here that can adjust. It's locked in pretty good at 0, so I hate adjusting it off of there. I can't quite understand. I did move our line down so we weren't wasting as much material. And in theory, we should be able to set this to 140 and mark that. And that should create a 90 on this side since we cut the other one at 140. However, I cannot get it quite to 90. So I'm either confused, dumb, or incapable. So I cut that at the 140 we're after. I'm gonna go over the 2 1/4, except I'm actually gonna change that to 2 1/8. We want that to sit in our frame, and then we want it to 90 up. So then I'm just gonna 90 that sucker, because my head's plumb up my booty apparently, and I can't figure this out any other way. I notched our tubing so it'd fit around that lip. We could cut that lip off, or we can notch our tubing. Now we can sit that there, kind of slide it up against there, and I'm gonna get us a kind of reference point here and back here. Finished cutting our 1, it fit good, so now we're cutting 2. Huh. Ah! That's caveman for get out of here. We'll lock that on, welding the back and each side. As far as getting back in there in the bottom, I think we may wait to full weld this out. Well, we better do the bottom. Woo! No, it just happened, but I got real lightheaded and dizzy. I'm floating, folks. I'm floating. And we're back. Mark center, mark center. Woo-hoo! That's good. Have I mentioned how crappy these tips have got? It's all right. I love crawling in and out of here. It's my favorite. Angle check. 40.2. 40.2. Cross member, nice and level. 89.9. And over there, 89.8. We're off 0.1. Guys, that's stinking good enough. Let's weld it up. All right, welded up that other side. Woo! Apparently my helmet just cut my nose. I can feel blood starting running down it. If you ain't willing to bleed for it, get out of the shop. Got her full welded up, both sides. Not too bad to get to. The weld on the back side, I'm gonna save that one until we box the frame, just so I can get to it better. Got up underneath there welded too. That's a lot of strength we just put in that. Take their hinge piece and I kind of round those corners a little more. Just looks a little nicer. And clean the bottom and the edges so she's ready to weld. Whew. Squared up and clamped in. Our extra overhang, we're gonna cut that off. It'll kind of clean her up a hair. And all those little rounded corners and details like that make it look like you care. I care, do you? I mean, think about it, guys. It's kind of like our hitch. We hid it underneath the bed. This bed's never gonna be tilted, but what if we did want to go to a car show and we threw the International on the back? We just wanted to tilt her a couple foot or something to just show it is a tilt bed. and people can see some of that fab work. If it just looks like you lobbed some crap off and threw it underneath there, how impressive is that? Integrity, doing the right thing when people aren't watching. Except I got some people watching. That side's matching, guys. Got it caught up, and now look, you'll see where our actual hinge is, the pivot point, and look how we're supported directly underneath that. You like that? Now we also need to support this brace at some point this way, because as this lifts, it does do a pretty good job, especially when it's extended, of kind of being up and down where that's strong, how we need it. But going through that process, at some point, it's got to be pushing a load that way too. So we either need to brace it back or this way, but we're going to brace it somehow. What about some 1/2-inch plate that's about 11-inch wide? Ow, ow. It's real light duty stuff. Through your nose, out your mouth. Woo! Now luckily we got a nice long straight edge on that chunk of metal. We want to use that for our edge that'll be out here, because that will help it look nice and cleaner. So let's say I want to go 14 inches back, and from our widest point over there to right there, 17 inches. So over here, we'll set us a 45. We're going to go down here 17 inches. And actually, I'm going to go 17 1/4. I'm going to live a little, get buck nasty with her. Extra 1/4 inch, what the hell. So then off of that, we need to come this way. Now we intersect those two lines. Like so. And that makes us a nice 90-degree angle with our exposed edge being the nice clean edge. Now we can plasma through the rest of that and take our time. And then once we clean it up with a flap attack and we weld it, it'll look better. Trust me. Trust the process, folks. I'm only half crazy. Whew. Clamped us some strap there to be a little straight edge to help us. Boy, that took everything the little plasma had, that 1/2 inch. Gotta go real slow on it. And I still managed to walk off and booger up a little. We can hammer a lot of that off. Save a lot of grinding. A 1/2 inch is a little tall to be welding up to the edge. So our one edge here, I actually rounded it over some, about 1/4 inch down, smoother out with a DA. Got a little weld back there, so we had to do about an 1/8 inch notch. And about right in there is what I'm after. A little C-clamp action. And lots of prep work. Guys, that 1/2 inch plate, that's a lot of work grinding on that stuff. Break a sweat. Just gonna make sure we've got her slid over about the same amount. They look good. Verify measurements on this side, clamped her in. We are full ready to weld. Except it's about 2:30, which means I only got to work on this about a little over 6 hours today. And guys, I got back-to-back doctor's appointments. The only day we did not have volleyball. Man, this week, it's just life. I don't feel like I can get in a good groove. I feel like I should be way ahead of where I'm at right now. But sometimes that's just how things goes, guys. We got to roll with the punches. It is what it is. I'm going to get up nice and early tomorrow morning, and we'll start with welding those in, and then we'll be on moving forward finally. Whew. Drop! Got to be quicker than that. For this big old thick 1/2 inch plate, if we want some good looking welds, the best thing we can do is put some preheat in that 1/2 inch. That's thick stuff. Tell y'all, I don't have depth perception, and sometimes it's worse than others. Well, here lately I've been getting real bad about my stick out getting too far out, and then that happens. And I did manage to get out here early to get to work on this thing. I did notice
We are about to run out of welding gas, and you already know we're on our last tip, so trip for welding supplies is gonna happen. Cleaner out. Try again. Golly, just can't get on a groove on the last weld. Been doing great on everything else. What the heck, over. Reposition. Second half looks better than the first half. Those up in there all did really good. And over here we did really good. Guess I'm just a little camera shy this morning. Y'all start watching, put the pressure on me. Now I can't weld. The hell, over. Well, we were about out of gas, so I did get to take Hot Rod to school and then got us some gas, got us some more tips. I did order us some genuine Miller ones, and I'm having to replace my welding pliers, which I'm not very happy about. I've had my welding pliers, my other pair, since I got my welder. And we've built a lot of stuff together, me and these pliers. Last week, I sat my welder down over there and it fell and hit like a piece of metal and it started welding. And look where that sucker decided to weld, right on our cutting edge. Now they don't close all the way, obviously, not as good as cutting wire. They were some gooders. I'm gonna try to sign these suckers and I'm gonna just throw them in a random order so someone can have my old welding pliers that's built every chassis that welder's built. R.I.P. old girl, you've been good to us. And someone had time to wake up finally. Geez, let me come out here and pull the early shift if someone snoozes, huh? You know, that's how managers lose employees, right? You're supposed to lead the way. Halt! That's right. You may think we're ready to weld up the top piece now. However, I think we're gonna change up this pivot point for some extra support. Look at all that 1/2-inch plate. Shocker, more support. So our back, the way we put our hitch and all those things that rig out to the outside, we really built just a truss out of steel on the back of this thing that's really gonna help stabilize it. Then up front, we go to just this here on the center. Now I know 2x6 with our cross runners and blah, blah, blah is probably plenty strong from here out to here. And in fact, my original plan was come right up off here and sit something here to be able to cradle the bed or hold it. But for picking up on this, I would like some additional support from here out to here. Now we still want to be able to sit something underneath this bed out here possibly, or we could go right up off of this actually and build some stops off of it. There's an idea. So either way, I would like to come out 18 to 20-ish inches with something underneath here just to help support. And maybe we run something flat for about 8.5 inches. That way right out here is a nice flat surface with the easy place to sit this actually on right in between them. Versus if that's at an angle, then you're trying to, oh, hold on, think about that. Obviously that's a 45, which is way too much, but if we had an angle that ran out this way, and then right here we had a pedestal that went back at the same angle as that sat on each side, that would actually help center that, which we got to have some type of guide anyhow. Little interlock sit pad. Huh. I feel like I've had just a clear idea for the first time this week, so that makes me happy. We are gonna ditch everything we did here. It's a good thing we just did a few tack welds. We'll cut those, knock all this off of here, and we're gonna build this over here where it's then ready to go over there. Yeah. Good as new. We are 3-inch wide, but we're 3.5 long. We're gonna take a 1/2 inch off this side. Make her a 3x3. I'll tell you what, guys, I was not looking forward to going to those doctor's appointments yesterday. It just takes so much time, frustrates me. But yesterday was a good one, and I'll tell you why. I'd walked in, the lady's sitting there, and they were running behind doctor's office. Shocker, we know. And anyhow, she goes, oh my gosh, my husband just plays your videos on repeat, nonstop. She goes, he's always watching you. She goes, I'll catch one here or there.
She's like, but my husband just loves watching your videos. So I apologized to her like I rightfully should. I'm sorry, ma'am. I'm sorry you gotta hear my nonsense all the time. Whatever. Oh, no. And she's super nice. And then, sure enough, kid comes out from behind. He was a younger kid in his teens, and he came up to me and he said, hey, are you Puddin'? I said, yeah. I got to have a nice conversation with this kid, and he said how much I inspire him and stuff like that. It was refreshing, guys, because I do what I do, hoping to inspire some of y'all and bring joy into this world. And I know y'all tell me it all the time in the comments, but to go to a doctor's office and get some nice twice, it ain't happened in person in a while. So it's just, it made me feel good. Them saying nice things made me feel good because I know what I'm doing counts. So thank y'all for being here. I also gave that kid my hat I was wearing, and now I don't have one of my own trucker hats. So I guess it's time I get some more hats. 3x3 complete. Why 3x3? It's definitely not because I have 3-inch wide plate. What I say over there? 18 to 20? No, we're gonna live a little. 23 inches. 2 pieces. Out here at the very end, we're gonna drop down 3/16 of an inch just to leave a little bit. And then over here, I think I'd said 8.5. And I actually think I'm gonna go 8 3/4. And we'll connect those dots, guys. Oh, actually, that's if we wanted the flat. Psych! Tricked y'all. I like to keep you on your toes. Y'all know that. Let's go over 5 inches. That's gonna allow around 3 inches to start to bevel out towards the end. Now we get the fun job of cutting all that off twice. Except there's another side. 4 times. I'm gonna adjust my guide a little here. I'm noticing it was tapering in. Usually, y'all know I'm a slice and dicer. These are gonna have welded edges, so it is what it is. We can do it with the plasma, it'd be faster. There's one. There's 2. Now, before you tack anything, that may be a 3x3 square. However, that shaft is still offset to the side. Less material here, more material here. So I flipped it upside down, and I've got our angle pieces upside down. So if that was to be taken off the table and flipped over, so y'all flip, and you'll see there's more offset to the rear. And that's how we want it. So check that, or you're gonna end up with 2 that are not good. Be trying to bind on you. From the bottom of our shaft to our tab was 5/8 of an inch. So stack us a couple pieces, exactly that, to level it out. We got this to hold us 90. Check we're 90 in here, tack it. You gotta keep her 90. And that did move a little bit, so just a little bit will do us here. Oh yeah, a couple love taps, she's right back where she needs to be. You always want to check that, guys. Every time you tack, that metal's gonna cool, and the side you tack on, as that cools, it's gonna pull the metal that away. I got bad news. There ain't no way around it, other than clamp it, so I just lied to you. All right, help that relax a little. Now we are gonna measure from right there, and that kind of breaks. We're gonna go 23 1/4. Up next, take our trusty angle finder, and let's see what we're at here. And it ain't a whole lot. In fact, it's kind of hard to check. About $1.59, $1.60. That break starts about 4.5 inches over. So we want to mark 4.5 inches over, square it, and break it. Now yes, I do have a sheet metal brake that could do this. You can't grab it in there quite how I wanted. I'm gonna show you how you could break it, which was beat it with a hammer. If you don't have a brake, you could cut that piece right there and then bend it and weld that up. You could just build this piece in 2 pieces. There's options. Check it for square with your very accurate smashed piece of aluminum. And I barely even started to bend that before it scared me. I need a hair more. Barely gave it an extra pump, probably went too far. Or we nailed it. Man, it's a little too much. So we'll smack a little bit of that bend out. Woo, that's better. Get her sat into place here. Doing quick, easy tacks, not big hunkers. That's because we want this to end up pretty. If we get her tacked on the outside, holding the shape how we want it, we can tack it heavier on the inside. Overhung that where there's about a 3/16 gap, or little, whatever you call that, overhang. Really happy with that fit up. Obviously those being nice straight edges lets us set these ones nice and straight and consistent. Guys, look at that fit up, just gorgeous. Now I am gonna do a few welds in here to help hold it, but it's not like we need to fully weld the inside and fully weld the outside. It just may be a little overkill. Just weld her every so often in there. And if you guess, cut another piece at 23 inches, ding, 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 you're a winner. Now, this piece is 1/4 inch thick, and on our mock-up, we had 3/8 thick. But what that should do is, even if those are sitting down on the cradle, that may pick the mechanism up additional 1/8 inch, but it's not gonna prevent us from going down. So going that way up is fine, I think. Got prepped to fit, knocked that tack down, it was wanting to hold us. And some of y'all are thinking, man, this seems really overkill for a hinge. But guys, you gotta realize, we are not just building the hinge at this point. We are also supporting that like a truss out there to support the bed, whether it's loaded, unloaded, in the air, not in the air. This right here is gonna put a ton of strength up there. And I've been trying to kind of figure out how we're gonna do that anyhow. So that's why I'm so excited. Like I said, 2 birds, 1 stone. Now, with her tacked up, you can see the one real disadvantage. Now we got about 47 miles of welding to do. The advantage, though, besides the strength, is the way we're building it. We can weld it up over here, and then it'll be ready to slide in over there. And then we'll have that nice flat edge that matches right up to our 2x6, and it'll be ready to weld over there. So before we get too buck nasty, we better check it for fit, just because. Golly, it didn't get any lighter. Woo, or cooler. That baby's warm. Get that hot end C-clamped up so I don't have to hold it. And yep, that looks pretty good. Other than I notice she's crooked. But do not worry about that. I mean, worry about it, but we're not, because this big heavy thing sitting on this cross member, if y'all remember, allows that to shift around. AKA, we can square that up. Get my glasses cleaned up to help me see. Had a little preheat going on over here. One side done. Why the preheat? Because I've realized for me to be able to weld these, I really got to crank the welder down to slow it down where we can control it. But the problem is at that point we're not putting enough heat in there to get cold metal welding good. So we preheat that sucker up and turn our welder down, and then we burn in nice and I can control it. Kind of figured that one out on the front A-arms. don't know why I just took those gloves off, like I don't need them to touch this thing. But Puddin', you gotta have that welder cranked up. You can't weld it with it turned down. Your welds will break because you don't get enough heat in there. Yeah, I'll let y'all know when these ones break, okay? We are tuned in right there, folks. At the end of the arm video, I told y'all I thought I had some bad wire. And come to find out, I was right at the end of the reel, and I do think I had bad wire. I put new wire in yesterday, and then today, getting some new tips. This tip has not messed up on me at all, so maybe I just got a bad batch of them. Who knows? So far, this one's been great. I did also put a little more tension on our tensioner in there. I don't know how much that really messed with it. Honestly, guys, I think I'm due for a new lead. I've used this one as a lasso, twirling it too many times. I think inside of there is probably messed up. And this nozzle that sticks out of the gun, this whole piece, it's kind of rotating around and everything's just kind of loose and worn out. So we'll be replacing it soon. But this thing's welding way better than what it has been for me on this whole build so far. All right, let's keep her going. If you want to try to not have a big old lumped up area where your tacks were, so I knocked them down a little. And actually, if you really want to get rid of that, this is a good way to do it. Now it won't bubble gum or weld right there. Also, in our mix of tools we're going to send out, and I think I was supposed to send this out. Either way, I just smashed that and melted it. This is the OG angle finder that I've built every chassis with since I've moved back to Oklahoma. Going out in a random order. I can sign the back of it. All right. Yes, sir. It's a lot of welding when your shoulder and hand goes numb, huh? Really, really happy with how that turned out. Learned something new when we did those control arms, because this is kind of more what I wanted my control arms to look like. A lot prettier. And I told y'all at the end on that, I kind of figured out what I needed to be doing. This is still not perfect. On this one, I did stop halfway through to reset. On this one, I did one continuous one, but I'm just not as consistent. I'm not good at sliding along the table. Either way, no complaints. Beautiful. The Miller-Matic has auto set, and you can take it out of auto set and you can adjust your wire speed and your voltage if you want. It's not voltage, Puddin', it's amperage. Yeah, except the engineers at Miller call it voltage, and all I was doing was reading. And that whole time I had that thing set pointed right at 14 gauge metal. 1/4 inch thick, obviously thicker than that. But as you see of the preheat, that's pretty close to fine tuned for 1/4 inch right there, about where it needs to be. So guys, practice, practice, practice. That's what it takes. My practice was basically my front control arms, but now that was crawling. I'd say now we're walking. We're not running at that weld yet, but we're about as close as we're gonna get. I know I need to limit myself to doing about 8 to 9 inches of weld before I reset, and then I think I'd be really happy with the results. So, practice, do what works for you. Don't let people, well, that's 1/4 inch. You gotta crank her up at least a 1/4 inch. It's kind of like when I posted this on my Instagram and a guy wanted to get in a contest with me, saying the way I built the hitch onto the bed because it pivots ain't gonna be strong enough to tow with. It's gonna flex the bed. It's gonna throw this truck all over the road, blah, blah, blah. He then made it to the point where he's like, so you're saying engineers put hitches to frames, but you're smarter than them? I'm like, no, you're the only one saying that. Kind of like when I defend how to weld on stuff. I've never claimed there's not stronger ways to weld or build stuff. I just claim what I'm doing is strong enough for what we're doing. Kind of like 1 inch pins on those hinges is gonna be strong enough when we get a latch system in place that this thing's gonna successfully tow. I never said, guys, this is the strongest way you can build a hitch, build a tilt bed. That would be dumb. All I've ever said is what I am doing is strong enough to pull off jobs. Like I'll weld something like this and they'll be like, well, you downhill welded that one side and blah, 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 that's wrong. And then they will be perfectly fine with buying a kit like that and putting it as your back hinge. Like these are somehow stronger than what I'm doing. Now, what I'm doing strong enough, let's be honest, this right here, though ugly for the job intended, that's strong enough. They sell it as kits, guys. Let me get off my soapbox. I'm just saying what we do is strong enough. That's beautiful. I'm starving. Whew. If you're curious, bleep, bleep, bleep. If you're curious how long it takes to make 2 of them, the answer is yes, whatever that means. But we do have 2 of them now. This one's hot, this one's workable. The weld prep. These things are real light. Y'all's heard of Thor's hammer. Look at Puddin's hammer. Hold. Never mind. I meant because Thor has a big hammer. Never mind. You know what? I'll just hush it. How's that? No more talking about hammers. Almost ashamed to hide this beauty underneath here. Hot potato, hot potato, hot potato. Yeah, get her clamped into place. This one, it's a little crooked. You can see I put that on there, and that ain't full tightened down. It's just to shove it a little bit because those do have some play in them. And I don't think our mechanism's bent. I don't think our support's bent. I actually think from building the chassis that this piece of 2x6 curves back a little bit. So I'm gonna clamp that to help straighten it up. Now we do overhang this way quite a bit, and I knew that would happen, but unless we wanted to totally remake that shaft in a way, something was gonna overhang the front. So I'm okay with that. A little bit of black paint on that, and it ain't gonna stand out like a sore thumb or nothing. 15 and 11/16. Woo! 15 11/16. Send it. Now we're tacking it, but for tacks I'm doing about a 5/8 inch long weld, a few of them down through there, and we're gonna do the other side. Before we really commit, we actually want to cycle this again because we have been building, but we have not cycled it since our initial mock-up. And I'm not suspecting any problems, but since we kind of clamped and pulled over there, better safe than sorry. It's a lot easier to cut a few 5/8 inch long welds than it is 23 inch long. That's a very short-lived test. Now I had noticed this, and I was afraid of this. Since we collapsed that more, and it kind of, I think she moved back a hair. So I went to pick it up. That tab right there started to rub that cross member. I still don't know what the heck that's even for. Maybe once we stroke this thing far enough, something starts to hit there, so they step that over. Either way, it looks like we're gonna have to trim it down just a little bit. Whoop, shave about an 1/8 inch off. Here at Puddins Fab Shop, I can show you how to avoid a warranty on anything. Put a little black paint on her, a little black Sharpie. They'll never even know we touched it. That's my shoulder workout. Everything's looking good so far. Pushing fluid out means it's going higher than before. Guys, I don't think we'll ever dump this high. Right there. We hit at the limit. I felt it start to pick up the truck. So there you go. There she is, guys, full cycle. And boy howdy, everything went good. No binding, no clanking, nothing scary. And everything seemed to go through the motion. We know being the 1/2 inch up right there, we're gonna clear our drive shaft. And we know we're gonna have to maybe beat the tank a little bit. A little heat and beat on the fuel tank, but what could go wrong, you know? But we're pretty sure that's gonna fit as well. We will not be trying to load a car like this because it's just in way too much incline. We would prefer to be dropped down a little more and just have to have a little bit longer ramp. Realistically, we're not hauling cars very often anyhow. But when we do, that's the option we'll want. Now, if Lang, my buddy who does concrete, but he also does watermelons, if he calls me and he's like, hey, I need you to haul some watermelons, and we just put some sides on this thing, and we plumb loaded it down, then I could back up to wherever he wanted, and I could dump them and smush all of them and leave. It'd be very helpful for that situation. But Puddin', that hitch you hung down is gonna hit the ground. That's also what the expert said, who was teaching me everything I was doing was wrong. Yet we can dump this bed at a 26.4 degree angle and still have 6 inches. Guys, if we were able to mount that sucker back there, golly. Anyhow, we like it. Also, while they're up in the air, really let you see how we're supporting that. Like I said, kind of like an underside truss. And if we wanted to, and we may, since that overhangs the front, we could cut a thick piece of like 1/2 inch plate that would go from the end of that one to the end of that one and put it across the front. That way there's additional support even out in the middle, and all of that inner ties and really just helps that 2x6 up front have a ton of strength out there. We definitely added to it there. See where you haul back. Now 19.5 tons on back now, baby. Hell yeah. Sir, we need the aerial weld team. You heard the man. Send them in. Squeaky, squeaky, squeaky. What the heck? What are y'all doing over here on the scoreboard, huh? Get off there. All right, both sides are burned in. Told y'all I don't have commitment issues. Boy, I really just realized something. I'm not scared of commitment because we're committed now. Because I guess it just clicked in my head. That thing ain't removable at this point. The mechanism don't come apart. The cylinder can come out of the mechanism, but it don't come apart. We should have bolted one of the sides on, where then the bed could be removed and it either stayed attached to the truck chassis or it stayed attached to the bed frame, one or the other. But right now we have a whole lot of neither. Now the good news is the welds are beautiful and she sat right back down where she needs to be. Kind of messed up, guys. The way this has worked out, we actually could have turned some plates straight up and then done the same thing over here and made it where it had like some through bolts bolted into it. It would have been super strong. Remember that 23 inches of weld I'd talked about you didn't want to have to cut? Yikes. Oh, there's me in my momentum. Damn. Damn. No need in getting scared now, guys. And normally I say no regrets, but I do kind of regret that. I just was not thinking. My head ain't focused. I'm just so worried on get something done before these appointments or volleyball that I just making an end bolt on totally slipped my brain. So my carelessness has landed me some backtracking now. As you can see, I picked this up, and that's because I didn't want to cut those long welds. However, I would almost rather the bottom side be the bolt-on part anyhow. So if we do remove the bed, we can just strap that up to the bed and we remove the mechanism in the bed at the same time. That way we still don't have this all in our way. So our lower ones, we hadn't even fully welded yet. So we got this weld here and we got the one on the bottom side. And from that over to there's 11 3/8. And we've lined this hinge up right on the edge where that tubing starts to round. That side matches perfect, so that's how we know where to go back to. It's just metal, guys. Happy little mistakes. This is gonna be a fun job. Pretty simple design here. We did 2 pieces of 3/8, so I had to cut that same amount of material off back here. Weld that onto there. We do got to skip a little weld right there for the head of that bolt, but it's okay. Got this plate welded on the bottom and there. And now I just need some longer bolts, guys. Doing one side at a time and taking that off, that thing did let it slide a little bit, so I pulled it back to 1/8 inch. Got all her measurements the same. She's right back where she was, except this side's removable. All right, if you're an eager Eddie like me, it may turn you into a backtracking Bobby. That mistake cost us probably around 4.5 hours of backtracking. However, in the grand scheme of things, guys, it may be frustrating if something like that happens. Now's the time to do it. I mean, look at this thing. We've still got loads of work to go. You do not want to go, oh well, and leave it like that for something you plan on having for a long time. Just fix it now. I reused our gussets from the upper hinge we had made, so they got reused in there. We've got 4 5/8 bolts on each side, and we are good to move forward. Speaking of moving forward, the reason I wanted to get that done was we're wanting to create some type of cradle right in there, so you don't want to create a cradle and then decide you want to change that or start backtracking. You just make it more difficult. So we had to fix that so we could move forward. Well, good morning. Good morning, Sleepy. Are you ready to zoom me? Are you fired up? Go, Theo, go. Go, Theo, go. You took my shoe off. Give me my shoe. Give me my shoe. We ready to zoom me? Go, go. Go, Theo, go. Go, Theo, go. Go, Theo, go. Go, Theo, go. Is him's good boy? Is him's good boy? Whoop. Right there, 0 degrees. I mean, just a smidgen, guys. Obviously, this bed will flex a little bit. So before we build any type of hard stops, we want to make sure we get everything nice and level. Unless you want your bed to come down and sit crooked. That's up to you. If the frame's level and we're going to build off of there and it's level, in theory, we should end up nice and level. So if you're trying to create something for this to just sit down on, your instinct wants to tell you just go right here because there's a flat surface and there's a flat surface. It'll be easy to do that, which you could do. However, I already pointed out this is at an angle. That's gonna, with each one on each side, that's gonna help prevent some side to side. We are gonna still use guides at some point to make sure it's always landing straight exactly where we want it. We can even possibly add guides off of this piece we build. I want to contact this and run out here pretty stinking far and then drop off of something out here to the bottom of our frame, mainly for stability. The wider we can go, like if we could come out here and brace and it would look fine, I would do it. It just ain't gonna look good, so we're kind of limited. So we're using the cab right there to kind of hide what's going on here. And I think we can use some of our 2.5 inch square tubing. No, more angles that I'm guaranteed to mess up. My favorite. All right, we'll use that, kind of represent our tubing. All I'm really trying to do right now is lock in our angle. 98 degrees. Getting 14 3/4. We'll take a little off of that so it don't hang down plumb flush with the bottom. Now, I know I'm gonna catch crap for not accounting to put some type of isolator in there, but I told you I plan on latching this. So if this metal's latched to another piece of metal, it ain't gonna go nowhere. It shouldn't be moving. Yeah, if it comes down, it may clank a little. We're just gonna control this where it comes down slow and rely on that. I'm not screwing damn wood all over this thing trying to build isolators. I'm not gluing rubber to it. If rubber starts blowing out on one side, then you're gonna start getting some rock to it or an uneven bed. We're going metal to metal. Mark out our tubing to cut. We're going 49 degrees. Just like if you take 45 and a 45, you make a 90. We're going to 98, so we're going 49 and 49. This baby maxes out about 45, so just past our limit. Aha! Lengthwise, 13 inches. Beveled our edges. Make sure to check our angle. Looks good. Have I mentioned I hate tubing? Just not fun. However, it looks pretty good. To figure out the angle for the support, I got real complicated. I took this piece and I laid it on some tubing and I said, oh, I like it about there. And I traced it. Then you cut that piece out, clean her up. There you go. Advanced stuff we're doing. We definitely want to cap that in just because it'll look better. Got Theo excited even. All right up there? Of course, I got two sides, so we're making two of them. Professional. Ain't stupid if it works. Yeah! Grow up, kids, stay in school, get a good job, or you don't gotta be a fabricator. Just playing, I love it. Excuse me. Let them cool off a little bit. Now, I wasn't really sure how we were gonna do this, so we didn't really account for lining that up right here. And now that we're going to, there'll be about a 1/2 inch gap. So I think I'm gonna cut some of this 2 inch, 1/2 inch plate, and we'll put a little cap on that. Then our piece will go right there and it'll give us something to connect to. Tie it all together. I can't say right now I'm absolutely loving the way all this is looking, but it don't look bad. Maybe we could have thought it out in a way to try to make it look, I don't know. It's kind of one of those things we've just been figuring out as we go. We got to finish getting our main components in place, and then maybe we can add a little sheet metal here or there and clean something up. Or I may get stuff in place and go, no, that looks pretty good. You know, they say that old puddin went crazy fabricating that Loadstar. Yes, sir. Plumb off his rocker, they say he fell. And my harmonica. I'm going crazy. Building this damn thing. I can't wait to drive it away. Plumb crazy. Like he become a Mopar fan or something. Barred in the 1/2 inch. I ain't got a good way to clamp this, so we're just gonna have to hold it where we want it, get a good tack on it, go from there. Yep. Got that front edge where I want it. Beefy. That looks so much better with a piece of plate just being on there and that being capped. Also, in case you didn't notice, I had cut that a little shorter. I just thought it looked better stubbing there versus being equal to frame. Of course, I could have done a full triangle, but I thought that would look goofy. Kind of like this better. 89.5, we're close. 0.7. 0.9. 90. Actually, I'm gonna have to cut that. I set that to 90. We need to go 90 off of this frame. Dummy, cut it and tap it over. That's what we want right there. So send it. Well, she's locked in, folks. She's locked in. I locked her other side in. We got a great fit up as well, which is good because I never checked anything on this side. We did measurements and angles off of that side, and I made 2 of them just a degree or 2 off, and this would not have fit good. Either the top wouldn't touch, or the part on the frame would kick off. When you're good, you're good. All right, guys, check this out now. See the whole truck rocking? We don't have front suspension, so I don't want to get too crazy because the jack underneath there. But that's gonna, woo! If we're putting any weight on this, is being transferred right to our chassis now. Lock that top in, and that's our last 2 welds right there, folks. I'm done for. Not really how I foreseen this week going. I thought I would be able to get through some of that quicker than what I did. And then with all the short days because of volleyball and the doctor's appointments, guys, I just didn't get where I foreseen this week going. Now, that being said, our mechanism, our scissor, is in place. It cycles quite nice. It's removable now, additional feature. And we no longer have a piece of 1/2 inch thick strap just holding up the front of the bed that's flopping around and the bed's moving. Now when we set the sucker down, she's in her El Permanente spot. So all that being said, I'm still very happy with where we're at. That's a huge step. And I had mentioned I may not like how that looks, and I realized what I don't like, and I also realized what I should have done. We wouldn't have been able to do it this go around, but what I'm not really liking is that 1/2 inch plate. Y'all even know as a rule of thumb, I tell y'all not to do straight edges, to always radius it, just because it looks better. What we should have done was cut a plate, but put it on the back side. We could have stayed on that side of our cab mount there and braced that just the same way, just triangulate it back to the chassis, but underneath the cab, and it wouldn't stick out near as bad or be such an eyesore. Because if that was gone and we were just looking at that, all that right there, I think that looks pretty good. Happy with that. It'd look even better if we would have planned for this to connect to that, so we could have done 1/4 inch plate there instead of 1/2 inch, where we didn't have that goofy corner hanging out, but it's okay. This gives us a place where maybe we cut something decorative out of 1/4 inch or 1/8 inch and just sit it on here, and we could either bolt it on or we could weld it on. I mean, if I get too worried about it and it bugs me too much, at some point we can draw a radius on there. We can plasma that radius off and then clean it up and match both sides. But for underneath the flatbed, some type of, I don't know if a toolbox is still gonna go hit up underneath here. We're gonna have room to put some stuff, even like the hydraulic unit for this. Still on the fence right there, but that's gonna be hid, is what I'm getting at. So a little black paint on her, a flatbed lowered down, and this truck going a $175 down the highway in 6th gear just a screaming. You're probably not gonna see it anyhow. And the fact that took all that much work, now it is some heavy duty stuff, okay? I may have over fabricated these top hinges the way I did them, but I like how everything turned out. The fact we were able to get this in here, and we know we can clear our drive shaft and our factory cross member and everything, that's awesome. That was worth the day of mocking up and making adjustments so we weren't modifying a bunch of extra stuff too, guys. So that's it. We got a damned old dumper, baby. Now, if you're hoping I was gonna hook that up, it's kind of like the test fire in the engine and stuff, guys. I'm not gonna plumb fill that cylinder full of who knows how many quarts that thing holds, 8 quarts, 4 quarts, it don't matter. I'm not gonna fill that full of hydraulic fluid to cycle it once to then take the lines and the hydraulic unit out of the way and just have an absolute mess. That's a good enough test. We know if we can cycle it with that chain, some hydraulic power is gonna help get it there. Some folks said there's no way I'll ever get a car on there. I can't wait to strap the Model A or the International and show y'all. I'm gonna dump that sucker. I may throw the Mercedes up there first test. Live a little. I may get the Mercedes running and driving and drive it up there. No ramps. Just put it in 4-wheel drive and crawl. No, never mind. I may wrap up this video because I've got to hit the road in about an hour to travel for more volleyball. My favorite. I love volleyball. Love watching my girls. So it's been a lot this week, but I do enjoy once we get there and we get watching them and everything. So thank you guys so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed this go around. I felt like I had a really off week. I don't know if this even made a good video, but thank y'all so much if you're here and you watched it through and you're watching this build. And I hope y'all enjoy what Wilma's becoming. I know some of y'all didn't think it was ever going to become this, and here we are. And I wish I could tell you we're almost done, but I think we're just getting started. There's still a lot of work to go before this thing's a runner and a driver. And anyhow, puddins.fab.shop for that good quality merchandise. We appreciate all the support, guys. We'll be releasing, well, I can't even lie to you and tell you when. I got some hats being worked on. We ain't done hats in a while, so I've got a few new ones coming in. So be expecting that in the near future. And other than that, catch us on the Facebook, on the Instagram. It's a good way to just keep up with. I try to post something on there almost daily, just pictures or something up on the stories. I kind of show y'all what I'm getting into real time sometimes. Not too much of the work. I try to keep it for when the video goes out. But you can still see some of the other shenanigans. We're on the Patreon if you want the same content, just completely ad-free. It's another better way to just support, or not better way, but another way you can just more directly support me and my girls. And I cannot thank y'all enough for all the support across all the platforms. I hope y'all have an awesome week. Happy Monday. Don't let it kick you in the butt. I got my butt whooped all week. I'm still out here with a smile on my face, going a little crazy, like I was singing about earlier. And, gave y'all that eye started twitching. I was really getting into it there. Had to snap out before I lost it. Do not forget, guys, sitting on your ass will not finish your project. And having 2 kids in volleyball traveling across the state will not let you finish your project.